Good evening. Hi, Carol. Looks like you're the first and possibly only one here tonight. Hi, Carol. Looks like you're the first and possibly only one here tonight. If it's just me and you and looks like you're the first and possibly only one here. If it's just you and me and Brenda, we'll have a good time. I'll get the bourbon or the whiskey out, and you can get your beverage of choice, and we'll just sit here and have a good time. Then we can really talk about something. I hope you're well in southern Michigan. Oh, I forgot to post this in my I forgot to post this in my websites today or my Instagram. Maybe I should go do that real quick. Hi, Laurie Jean Carlson. Thank you, Carol. I see you probably beat me to it, so thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. We'll just see what happens. I didn't get notices out real early, and I'm just. I guess I'll be glad it comes out. It's hi, Diana. Well, I would have thought they'd be here because our friends in Canada are always good neighbors, and I bet that donut munching husband of hers might be in unless he's working or something tonight. Oops, I forgot something. Oh well, too late now. I know this will just excite the britches plumb off of you, Diana, but there's been watching a lot of good Canadian cowboys riding in the rodeo this week. Hey, Mike, welcome in, buddy. I was just talking about Canadian cowboys and cowgirls too, which are finally starting to get some exposure. That's right, they are tough. I wonder how many Canadian cowboys, and I'm going to say Canadian cowboys that are rodeo cowboys, which aren't necessarily full time cowboys. I wonder how many Canadians are full time that actually do go out and work cattle and do the things on a ranch that they need to do or that they have to do. I mean, most of them aren't, a lot of them aren't in the United States either, but some of them are. Some of them really work the ranch, and that's what they do for a living. You're one? How so, Mike? Please do tell. Oh, I'm not doubting you. I just want to hear the story. Hey, Brian, the West Coast Disney Adventure. Good to see you. Oh, you ride bulls at work. Okay. That must be exciting. Maybe I did too. Maybe that's why my back don't work. Sure, speaking of backs don't work, there's been a couple of them get hurt bad this week. Most of the cowboys where we live work the ranch. Rodeo is for fun. Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering because a lot of we make fun of them sometimes, but like a lot of professional bull riders, half of them can't even ride a horse. They don't even know how to. They barely can get on and off one, and they don't know what to do with him if he bucks or something. They get hurt or thrown off. And I mean, that seriously, that happens a lot. Hey, Adventures by D, welcome. And it's because they ride bulls. I mean, that's what they do. They're bull riders, and I give them all the credit in the world for that. But they're not always. They're not working cowboys. If only stuff about bulls I deal with at work is the stuff that comes out under the tale that the homeowner's trying to tell me. Yeah, well, I've dealt with that too, Brian. I've worked around some really professional. I can't say that politely. BSers. How's Dave? What's Dave up to this week? Anything special? But I still love the rodeo. I watch it every year. This is 10 days. It's over Saturday night. That'll be the 10th night. And so I'm having trouble sitting here because the pre-shows are on. It starts at 9. So you can bet we'll be off here by the end of the night. The pre-show is on now. The pre-show starts at 8:45. Good evening, Miss Brenda Pruitt. Oh, yeah. You like my hat? I think that's what you're talking about. I'll be honest with you, my hat's on tonight because my hair is all over my head. It was sticking up 40 different directions a little while ago. It's at that really rebellious length where it could be going anywhere. And I didn't wash it this morning, so I have to admit. Hey, John, welcome. Surf Bum's here. Tell us a fishing story. Tell us about the big one that got away or maybe one that didn't. You come up and say hi to anybody. You come up and say hi. Hey, you let me know when it's time to start rodeo, okay? Teddy's my rodeo watching buddy because it doesn't start till 9 here and it goes till midnight. And the only problem with Teddy is he tends to fall asleep, which tends to, I say, puts me to sleep, but he would probably disagree. Off and on, huh? And what's the big fish for the season this year for you? I know I thought you told me you'd caught a couple of pretty decent ones. Maybe not huge or super big. This is I don't know right now. This is getting to be the time of year where the freshwater stripers we have start going deep, and some of the specialists, if you will, guys that just hunt or fish for big stripers. This is when they start getting busy. Hey, Carol, if I knew how to do it, I'd post some pictures of it. Now that you mention it. Oh, well, that's pretty good difference then. There's a lot of difference in fighting power or pulling power between a 25 and a 40 pounder. Those things are, I don't know about saltwater, but when they get in freshwater, they pull and fight like the devil. Yeah, she's got some red algae or red slime going on right now. I mean, it's not all the whole tank, but it could be. So she's got to work on that. See if we got something on chemistry off in the tank. It would be, Carol, if it got all filled the whole tank up. I don't know, babe. I have not seen Momo. Although the door was partially open, might have been her. But if she was here, she'd be standing here crying, so I doubt it. Momo, for those who don't know, is our oldest daughter dog. She is a Shih Tzu, Shih Tzu, whatever they are. Anyway, and she's getting a little age on her, so she's getting kind of, honestly, she's kind of hard for two old people to take care of because we can't walk her like we would like to. We used to be able to walk her around and kind of let her take care of business and that kind of stuff. I don't even know if she wants to walk much anymore. I'll take that back. I mean, she's getting kind of gimpy, like me. Overfed the fish and the nitrates got too high. That's probably it. You got to be real careful about that. There's monarch moments. Mike, you send me a link to listen to a guy just got off the phone talking. How much more punishment do I have to take? All I can tell you about that, Gary, is maybe you don't need to be talking to that guy. Welcome in, though. Man, I'll tell you what, it feels hot down here tonight, though. We're having just a balmy day. It's 55 right now. Uh, oh well. I said we're having a balmy day, Mike. Balmy. I just can't say it properly. Balmy. Balmy. I don't know. Maybe there's another way to say it. It is 55 though. Yeah, it's warmed up again here. I think it's supposed to cool down again, but it'd be a day or two. Honestly, Mike, I just assumed it stayed cold, but it's not going to do that. John, Garrett's late night stream to get me motivated for fishing at 4 a.m. Well, if you're listening to Garrett and then going fishing at 4, you're probably not going to bed. Because most of the time when I wake up between 4 and 5 a.m. Eastern time, he's still going. I saw something else that caught my eye. Now I can't find it. Shoot. Oh, well, I can't remember what I was going to say. Something, yeah, it's been raining all week. We're making up for our drought. What little compared to, oh, I know what I was going to say. Compared to your all's out west, Garrett, it's not much, but we have been droughty, so they say. So we're getting made up for. I think we were supposed to get 6 or 7 inches this 3 or 4 days here, which is a lot. That's early for me, 1 a.m. late, and 3 hours later. Oh, I know how long you're up. I've been up many times when you go off. So I know. I was going to ask Garrett. I said, Garrett, what do you think about gas prices right now? I heard tonight on the evening news. No, it was this morning on the morning news, I guess. The gas prices were going down out here where they expect them to get, I know, at least below $5. I don't know if they're supposed to get down to much lower than that. Maybe it's under 4. I'm not sure, but quite a bit less than they have been. Well, that's true. Now I got what you're saying, Gary. That's true. That still is, it's only 1 a.m. for you. So you can go to bed and still get up in a decent hour. Those of us on the East Coast who, want to chat and listen to you, we have trouble getting up in the morning. Yeah, they're just going down from super gouging to ridiculous. And then, I don't know, maybe if you're lucky, it'll go down a little bit more. I think it's under 3 here now, or getting to right at 3. If you go to Kroger and buy groceries and get a discount, it's, like $2.50. So, you can take that part of gouging to the bank. And people back here complain about it when it goes up 50 cents and we're getting gouged. So you guys have a right to complain. Well, you go get cleaned up and then come back in. Garrett has been on his evening run, or he's had the dog out, one or the other. $1.53 a liter. I just calculated that the other night. That's about what, $7 American? Hang on, I've got that calculated on my phone. Oh, here it is. I had it pulled up just a couple nights ago. Somebody was saying, "Well, you Americans got cheap gas, or you got really expensive gas." They thought we were paying, $5 a liter. Whoever it was, I can't remember his name, but I think he's probably young. Let's see. Oh, that changed on me. Hang on a minute. No. Well, the time I get this pulled back up here, I'm sure some math. Yeah, 5.80 a gallon. Thank you, Mike. I was going to say somebody else will have it figured out. What is it, like 3.4 liters per gallon or something like that, Mike? Seems like it is, or 3.7 maybe. If I'm doing speeds, I can guess speeds at metric down to miles per hour, because I usually calculate a rough calculation, not exact, but roughly a kilometer per hour is about 2/3 of a mile per hour. I don't know if I can do that yet with liters or not. I'll have to do that math later. What are you paying right now, Carol? Did you notice today? Because it's supposed to be going down like right now real big. I haven't bought in a few days, so. $3.875 liters. Okay. So I was down on that all the way around. It's 3.8. I was thinking actually 3.9, I'd call it. So almost a quart. Liters, almost a quart. Carol's going to give us an up-to-date Speedway gas station current price. I didn't think about that, Carol. I probably could have done that too, but I don't have anything. I don't have any gas station monitors on my phone right now. I think our car does. Close my pen up so it don't dry out. $2 a liter. Whew. Do you have any idea what diesel is, Mike? For a car? I don't know if that makes any difference, but. Oh, I get it. I get that, Diana. That's probably another, at least 50 cents or 50 cents on the liter. I don't know. You'd have to tell me, but I'm trying to think about what it is here. It's about probably not quite $2 more here per gallon. $2.14 a liter. I was just wondering because $3.49, Carol says it's Speedway now around Lower Michigan. It's probably about the same here, Carol, I think. Well, I'm sorry, Diana, but I understand. I really do. But then again, if I really think about it, I cry a lot because I grew up in the days when gas was, 20, 25 cents a gallon. Or the lowest I believe I ever paid for it was 19 cents a gallon. Oh, Mike, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. I guess it's liquid nitrogen, right? And it's not fuel cells. You're physically burning it. Oh, I'll have to talk about that. I'm fascinated with that idea. I've read a lot of stuff about it, and it's super clean. I mean, when it burns, it just turns into water. So I don't know if it's dirty because it's coming out of the engine, but I would suspect not. Although you would still have to run lubricant. I would think so, Mike. You have to be careful around it. Of course, you do gasoline too, but okay. It is 7:24. I threw out a great old big topic today for tonight's conversation, and I'd really like to hear some comeback. Our battery operated vehicles don't last very long in this climate, so I think they're looking elsewhere. I bet they don't. I bet cold weather is hard on batteries. I don't have a thing against battery operated vehicles down here, except that problems like that in some parts of our country, but in yours, I can see that being a big problem. And the fact that they still can't go very far in a country that's where we travel by car a lot and we go a long ways. I guess you guys do too, and further probably, but when you get out to the western United States, those guys drive 200 or 300 miles a day on a regular basis. You can't. That's about stretching the range of an electric car these days. So if you don't have a lot of battery stations to plug in and go with, that's going to be a problem, and that's a big infrastructure commitment if you don't know for sure how long it's going to last or if it's going to last. I think they're here to stay, but I think we got a long way to go to perfect it. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to talk about. I threw out a biggie tonight. I threw out the idea of freedom of speech. And I did that because, one, it's a toughie. And two, I heard it being discussed, not that particular being discussed, but I heard something being discussed the other night, and they were shouting them down and not able to talk about it. And we hear so much on the news about people online on TV spouting racism and anti-Semitism. And I just wonder, I asked the question, I think on my thumbnail card, with the internet these days, and when there's little or no supervision, and nobody, or most people at least, don't want to truly censor the internet in that regard, is it okay now to go into a crowded theater when it's packed full of people and yell fire, fire? That was always the example people gave me about freedom of speech. It's okay to say, you shouldn't be allowed to say what you think or what you want to say, but you don't have any right to hurt people by it. And I just wonder if the internet has allowed us to go way past that now. Because nobody I won't say nobody monitors it, but when you're on the open net, there aren't many monitors. You go into Twitterverse these days, which seems to me like it's just chaos. They've been very open about conversations or topics discussed, and that seem kind of out there to me, to be honest. I know some people will disagree. And then at the same time, you've got some that have been accused of being too tight with censorship. So what's the answer? I mean, what do people do? Respond. Diana says, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. That's a very good point. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Think about that, people. And it costs a hell of a lot not to be nice sometimes. Mikey says, I don't mean Mikey, I'm sorry. I see Mike and I think Mike Wheeler sometimes. And they call him Mikey. But anyway, when people don't take responsibility for their own actions, how do you expect anybody else to? Well, that's a good point too, Mike. But that's part of my thinking. I mean, if you can stand up in your bully pulpit on the internet and rile people up to, I don't know, charge the Capitol building, or march in the streets, or come to Charlottesville and march against the Jews, or march against African Americans. I mean, should you be allowed to do that? And I mean, I'm not saying yes or no here. I'm just asking questions or saying stuff in the form of a question. I mean, is there a limit to that? And to me, there is no limiting agency, if you will. And if there was one, what would people think about that? It's the same argument is made about gun control in this country. Every time we talk about making any kind of rules or regulations against assault weapons in the hands of the public, the NRA goes off the deep end about, if you let them do this now, they'll do more later. Pretty soon, you won't have any guns. Everything will be locked up, and we'll be just like Russia or just like China. And so censorship, I'm sure, would garner the same kind of ideas or thoughts, but at the same time, what's the limit? I would say you should be held responsible for doing that. Absolutely, it's wrong. Yeah, I don't disagree, Mike. That's a thought. I think what bothers me sometimes is the fact that they tend to that volatile or inflammatory things tend to draw more supporters with gas cans than fire extinguishers. Oh, I just thought of that. I'll write that down. Take my trusty pen here and write that down. Uh-oh, I'm out of ink. Okay, I had that one up. I wrote that thought down. Thank you, Mike. You see that? You popped that into my head. I'm having to write stuff down now so I don't forget it. I used to really pride myself in not forgetting things, but these days I forget more than I remember, I think. I think it's just because I'm not used to, I'm not on a schedule. I don't have to remember most things. Anybody else got a thought? This is a free room. Nothing leaves this room unless you want it to. No fighting here, no bullying here. Nobody's going to jump on your back. If they do, they're out of here. That's my rule. And if it's me, somebody can time me out. Somebody timed me out the other. No, that was in Garrett's chat though. So Carol, if one of you guys that have blue names can time me out if I get too off the deep end, you're welcome to do it. Carol says, Carol's got a thought. I love it when Carol's engaged here. I think there needs to be responsibility on both ends. It is wrong to incite violence or hate. It is equally wrong for people to stupidly follow someone's idea without thinking it through. Well, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it too, in many ways. That and Diana had something to say after that. I think it's easy to be a jerk on the internet or social media. You know what? I've said that for a long time, Diana. And that applies to speech and hate speech and well, a lot of other things that I just won't even say them. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I personally would like to think that people in general are brought up to be more like, okay, this is a very outdated comment and many would probably disagree, but let me use it as an example, please. And then you can chew me out later. But if everybody was raised to be like a Boy Scout, where you were taught from a young age to be responsible and to, do things that leave a campsite better than it was when you found it, to, help a lady across the street, an old lady across the street with her groceries. That kind of a mindset. I'm not saying everybody should be a Boy Scout. No. I'm just saying that kind of thought. Then maybe we would have more responsibility and a little less of those people who are listening that then become enthralled and don't mind their own actions. I get my call up here, make sure I'm up to speed. And back to what Diana said too, I've said for a long time, someone told me this once when they were a mascot for a school and they ran a costume. And they said that it sure is easy because they'd be in a costume and they'd act totally different than what they did, in real life. They were outgoing. They were always cutting up with people and just, being a real clown to some degree or just really involved with everybody. But without the mask, they were just real meek, humble, shy, reclusive to some degree, maybe didn't socialize a lot. And they said the mask does it all. And they said it was like, when I've got that mask on, I feel like I can just be free. And it's like that on the internet. I mean, there are bad people out there who feel free, I think, on the internet because they can make up a name, they can hide out there in space and not possibly never be caught, because it doesn't seem like a lot of them are, and they can literally hide behind it's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Well, if you really want to be a bad dude on the internet, you can be, and you can hide behind your own curtain, which is a hard thing apparently to teach against. I don't know. I think you're right, Carol. I think you're spot on there. How we get there is a good question. And it does bother me when people just follow everything they hear on the internet. We'll pick on the internet tonight, not other forms of media, but I think it's worse on the internet, again, because they can hide behind, a lot of people can hide behind the curtain. What was I going to say? Shoot, I lost it. What are we having for a snack, John? Me, I'm having Scottish or Irish whiskey, but that's just me. Oh, there's a sad, sad sight. The last drops. Okay, before anybody accuses me of drinking too much or being an alcoholic or telling me I shouldn't drink online, we're all adults here. And that's the first bottle I've emptied in quite a long time. And it took me a year to empty it. I think that was one of last year's Christmas presents. And what did Carol say? I think there needs to be. Oh, okay, that's the same one that I'm. How do we trust? Since obviously there are a lot of jerks, and since there are a lot of people who want to say just whatever they want to throw out there, how do you police that? Can you? Anybody got a thought on that? Because I'm not sure I've got that figured out. I mean, if we could, that'd be great. If you figure out a way to police it without making people feel like they're being muzzled, completely muzzled. Maybe make them say that stuff in public. Zombies eat pork rinds with Tabasco sauce. Brenda, you must tell me how you know this. Although I can probably guess. Another example of bad, and I'll use a real life example, the Sandy Hook school shootings were terrible. 26 people, I think, mostly kids, mostly elementary age school kids. And I mean, it was horrific. Remington Arms was sued over that and basically went out of business. The oldest manufacturer of firearms historically in this country, from this country, in this country. There's some European ones that are older, but which I think, I'll be honest, which I think is a shame, but it was all based on the fact that they too got into the black rifle market. And because that's what so many people were wanting these days. I'm sure they could have said it different, but that's what it amounts to. And the lawsuits over that, because that's that gunman used a Remington made firearm, or at least supposedly he did. And that caused them to go bankrupt and go under. So a lot of jobs are lost. There's a lot of, I think, history lost. I think that part, I think, is a shame. But then there was Alex Jones, who for months and years now has gotten on his radio shows and spewed and spouted and lied and told stories to people that never happened. And he convinced hundreds of people out there that never happened. He said it never happened, and they believed him, and they said it never happened, and they passed it on to their family and friends that it never happened. And that's the kind of little grass fires that turn into big forest fires. And pretty soon, the people whose children died are getting that story from their friends. And, they took him to court over it, which I think they should have. And I'm actually glad or proud to say that he got convicted and charged with it. I personally think he should go to jail, but at least he got fined for it. But, I just don't think anybody should have a right to do that. And I have to believe, absolutely have to believe, wonder, one, where he got his information, and two, did he really ever believe that wasn't true? What was the driving force for him to spread that lie for all those years, get all those people behind him fired up, yeah, let's go get them kind of thing, and know that it wasn't true? Let's see, I'm behind now, so I'm going to catch up. Carol says, well, I don't know what we do with adults other than refuse to ignore comments, actions that we know are wrong. Yes, Alex Jones, that guy should have went to jail for what he said. Yeah, he is a despicable person, and he should have gone to jail. He should have been fined for everything he's got. And another thing that's bad about this country. I don't know where this is going yet, but he had managed in the time of his trial to move so much of his money that he'd gained and got wealthy over this whole lie, that now he's claiming he's bankrupt. He's crying poor mouth. He's poor mouth, as we used to say in the country up there, about not having any money. But there's a lot of people that have already tracked down his money that were aware of it when it was happening, and he's transferred it all overseas or in the bank accounts and the Caymans or wherever they take money these days. And so, they're saying they can't pay out all the fines he got and the money he was charged. And I have to think he'll probably ride that out for years and not pay them. And eventually the families will probably run out of money and can't afford to pay lawyers to do that. And in the end, he'll win. But I guess we'll see. He's still on the air. I saw him on the air with Ye just the other day, Kanye West. Well, he was all over the news with Kanye. I think Kanye might have even upset him a little bit, though. With kids, I think we need to teach kids how to share ideas, listen, agree, and disagree, while still treating others with dignity. God Almighty, Carol, if we could do that, wouldn't that be a blessing? Wouldn't it be nice if we could really and truly install that in children? That we could teach our children, no matter what religion they were, or maybe take religion out of it for a minute and just teach them how to be graceful and how to listen to people and share ideas and not immediately hate somebody because they're different or a different color or they've got different eye color or and then grow up hating. I wish we had an anti-hate shot in this country. I wish we'd get a mandatory pill that was anti-hate. Maybe we could solve a lot of problems. The U.S. government has a very far reach. They should take all his money and assets if he's playing. I agree, Mike. I personally wish they would and could. I don't know what kind of laws he's hiding it under. But I know that before he was finally convicted, there were people already talking about the fact that his company and under his immediate name was broke. They transferred, but they knew for a fact that he transferred the money out into different companies or different locations so that they couldn't get it all. And I think they shouldn't be allowed to do that. One, it's a shame we let it happen. Two, it's a shame other governments, I don't care who they are so willing to do that and just turn the other cheek or turn their back to it. Swiss, love Swiss chocolate. I always think it's a beautiful country, but when you talk about banking laws and um, storage laws, I guess they're despicable too. I mean, they've got money over there that they know was gained from the Jewish Holocaust that they won't turn over. There's art still locked away in warehouses in Switzerland that are secret or not secret. The safes and depositories they're in are just open out on the corner. But what's in those boxes is a secret, and they won't reveal. They just don't. They say, well, we don't know what's in there, and that's our clients. So it's their secret to keep or not. And that's just another way of saying no, we don't want to deal with it. We're not going to. They did to all those Russian gangsters. Yeah, they did, Mike. That's a good point. Their assets nothing but time right now for the guy till it happens to him. It's terrible. I mean, he's not the only one. He wasn't the first one, I'm sure, but he certainly did get away with a lot, I think. And just as disturbing to me is the fact that he got rich doing it. He had all kinds of major sponsors that, just to look at it, probably wouldn't think that they had shared his opinions. But then again, they sponsored him, so maybe they did. Thank you, Mike. It is disgusting, Diana. Like I said, it's a shame. Well, it's not a bad idea, although most of them have pulled away from him now. They have finally left him. It took a lot to make it happen. I think he lost. I can't swear that he lost all of his sponsors. I never watched or listened to him, so except when I get bits that are on TV and stuff. And I have heard him and thought, who in the hell is this guy? And but I don't listen to him enough to know, what he's got now and what he had before to compare it. I'd be willing to bet he still has some, but most of them left. I'm sure that one of us, or I could pull that up on the internet. Alex Jones still sells supplements on Amazon. Which companies advertise for him. Well, that don't have anything to do with it. Well, it does a little bit. I guess I don't know who he sells supplements for. Apparently he does. Survival tools, water filtration systems, and things like that. So he probably advertises for preppers. The InfoWars Super Male Vitality Tonic is sold out. Oh my God. So I guess that's the name he uses, InfoWars. This is something I'm reading out of the Columbian Portland Tribune. I don't know if that's out of Washington or New York. Where does he get his stories for information? Where does he get his information for stories? For InfoWars, somebody wants to know. I'm not going to run that down that rabbit hole. I sure wouldn't want him to think I want to get stuff about Alex Jones. Do his InfoWars work? I mean, his InfoWars supplements work? And which ones? There's somebody's asked a question, I guess, on one of his some social media site that says, "Do you support the host of InfoWars, Alex Jones?" And the answer was, "I support his indictment, trial, conviction, and imprisonment." So, there's some stuff out there, but I don't know all the answers to that one. I probably should deep dive that some more. I just don't know enough about that one too. I mean, I know most of them jumped. I don't know what all he had. Oh, Garrett's back. Mike's not doing anything disgusting. He is participating in an open and productive conversation about freedom of speech. Diane says if he was in Canada, he would be off the air by now. And Carol said that Canada sometimes tends to look more or is more rational. She said is more rational than the United States. And I think sometimes there's a lot of truth in that. I think Canada has its own issues and problems and has, in many ways, some of the ones we've had. They've dealt with them better. I think, in my opinion, the Canadians is they tend to stop and take a beat and take a breath and look at stuff a little bit more than we do. I think we are always in too big a hurry to fix something. And Canadians, to me, seem like they're kind of a little bit more laid back in that regard. Now, Mike and Diana, you're welcome to disagree. You wonder what, Garrett? Oh, he just admitted he was doing something. He did? Not him. He wasn't doing something disgusting. We're talking about Alex Jones being disgusting. That's where we have to draw the line. That's where we have to figure that out, Diana. That's where yelling fire in the theater should somehow be rationalized and changed to opening the door and say, not this way, everyone, one at a time, out the back door, out the fire escapes. Please don't run over each other. That's it. Take your time where everything's okay. Just get out and move away from the building. Not locking the doors and saying, fire! Okay, John, you got to tell the ones of us who don't know, who is Don Cherry. Cherry. Okay, who is he? Who is he? Hockey guy. Old time hockey guy or a recent hockey guy? Because that name's not. Of course, this year I haven't watched a lot of hockey. And I missed something Diana said. Oh, what he was doing wasn't freedom of speech. It was spreading false information. And I totally agree. And I think I think most of that is false information. I think that certain groups, certain peoples have been spreading false information for a long time. The hockey guy with the crazy suits, former coach turned commentator. Who does he commentate for? Is he? I don't know who that is. There's an interesting guy on the RFD channel who dresses up in some strange suits, but I don't think that's him. He does the farmers markets and the what we used to call the ag news. It used to be on early in the morning back when I was growing up. And he wears a coat that looks like a Holstein cow. He's a pretty good sized guy, but Hockey Night in Canada, okay. Well, I know about Hockey Night. His nickname is Grapes. Oh, there's got to be a story there, I would bet. I bet if someone got on the internet, maybe created their own show, maybe sat in a room like this, but drew more people, and started telling everybody that the stock markets had failed and the economy was going to hell, run, get your money. And enough people listened, and they all ran out and did that and crashed the banks and started recessions or depressions, or I bet they'd go after that guy. But you can go out there and spread hate and blame everything in the world on the Jews or Asians or blacks or Native Americans. I bet you can do all that, and hardly anybody even seems to get upset. And I just think that's so wrong. It eats me up sometimes inside to sit around and think about what we do as Americans that has underlying tones of racism or hatred or discrimination, and we just kind of turn the other eye. I hate that. I mean, it just really bothers me. And maybe I'm guilty of it too. I've tried all my life not to be, but at least I try not to be. I didn't want to do that. Look him up, Tim. Pretty sure you've seen him before. Okay, I will. Ron McLean. I don't know if I know. He must be Northeastern / Canadian people. Which you guys realize that you've had hockey up that way a lot longer than we've had here in the South. What was his name? Eddie? No. Oh, Don Cherry. Oh, that guy. I think I have seen him actually. Oh, he was with the Bruins and the Rockies. But he's not played since 72. And he was a coach for a few years. But I didn't get into his other stuff. He's wearing a handsome suit there. It almost looks like a black velvet painting of Elvis. Oh, I don't know. And I'll have to look up Ron McLean too later. Maybe I'll do that now, and then I'll just mark it and I won't read it. Was he a ref? Oh, he's a sportscaster too. Okay. Yeah, that's a squirrel, Diana. You can count that. Probably you can almost, and you can blame John for that one. He sent us down that path, or as we often say, up that tree. Oh, from Slapshot. Eddie Shores from Slapshot. Okay. Good catch, though, Diana. I appreciate your awareness on that. So let's bring it back in here. Let's keep going about freedom of speech. You know what is it? Should we we be allowed just to say anything? And if we censor it, how do we keep it from becoming more than that? You know, there ought to be a way when we do laws and when we try to correct errors in our history or our judgment or our social endeavors. There should be like in a mechanical situation, hydraulics often on equipment like airplanes often have a release valve or actually it's more like a stopper that if things get pressure, it can be two things. It can be when pressure gets too high or pressure gets too low, it shuts off the system. The pressure relief valve keeps it from blowing everything up. The other stopper valve, and I can't think of the name of it, it keeps you from bleeding to death. So, you know, it'd be nice if we could figure out a way to incorporate that kind of a fail safe, might be a good word, for when we pass a law that's got some strict borders or should have certain blinders on. Gun control is one of them I think we could do this with. I firmly believe there are ways to do this where it wouldn't scare everybody to death. But people like Jones keep that kind of thing fired up too. Freedom of speech should be the truth, not false. Well, that's a good point, Mike. So, and I think if we take that approach, I think somehow we should be able to look for those falsehoods and stop them. And that would be the next step in that line. But I think that's a good point. I mean, if you're saying truth, then I agree. You should be able to say that. I think people need to know the truth. But these days it seems like they're fed just a lot of lies, and then that ends up being their truth. May not be the truth, but it might be their truth. And I don't know how you stop some of that. I mean, I've tried to talk to people like that, and sometimes it just doesn't work. I mean, it's really hard to induce somebody down a different path once they've started, because I think humans by nature don't like to admit they're wrong, for one thing. But I think that's a good start, Mike. I mean, that is the point. Carol, I got my glasses off, so I can't see what you said, but I just know it's you. Okay, which part? Okay, my wife told me not to blow my nose on the screens. You know, I forgot to mention that when I'm off like that, you guys can say anything about me you want to, and I won't see it when I come back. When I come back, it's just all gone. So, chatter away. Yeah, Carol, oops. I already poured most of that coffee. Well, all gone now. Yeah, Carol. I do think Carol's got a really good point. How do we get there? I think we have to start that at a young age, for one thing. Yeah, Carol. I tell you what, you got a good point there. I don't understand how to this day we've got people that are in the public eye, public media, sp- spreading those kinds of lies and are still getting away with it. That can somehow convince people that the Holocaust didn't happen. Well, I mean, what do you have to do to prove that? How many more millions of lives would have to have died? How many more World War II photos of the crematoriums and the gas chambers and the war camps, concentration camps, would you have to show or build to believe it? I tell you what I think they should do. I think they ought to load people like that up in a box car and take them across Europe and drop them out in Auschwitz somewhere and let them see what it looked like and make them go through all the historical points, the museums, the photos, talk to some of the survivors. I mean, why? And Kanye West is the, I'm going to use his name, and that what's the other guy's name? Florentine, not Florentine, is it? Floyd, yes, I can't say it. Who has been telling people, Kanye maybe not, he's down on the Jews right now, and I have no idea why. But the other guy, Fuentes, he's been telling people that the Holocaust never happened for years now. No, and it's just out there. I'm still puzzled how people can't figure out the truth and false for themselves. Is it because it's common sense and most people don't got that? Well, Mike, I'm afraid you're closer to being true than you think. I think sometimes it's because people I think it's just my thinking is that sometimes people are susceptible to believing other truths because they're susceptible to believing smaller lies, if you will, or untruths because of their personal situations, their political, their financial, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their so-called station in society or life, and they're searching, and they don't feel like they have anything. Which, in a lot of people's minds, and I've grown up around a lot of these people, therefore they think they're being cheated. Somebody's screwing them over. So when some guy comes along to tell them that, oh yeah, you're getting screwed over, all right, and here's where it all starts with the Jews and all that made up stuff about the Holocaust or all that made up stuff about whatever. And I'll be honest, this is one I've heard around here not in a long time, but I used to hear was that as some Christians, and I'm going to say more fundamentalist types in this part of the country, didn't like Jews because Jews they turned Christ over to the Romans. I mean, how do you get around that? Those are the very same kind of people that also find their way into the little churches around here that have a guy standing up front spewing all kinds of hellfire and brimstone, who's probably maybe never even graduated from high school and has little or no education other than his mama taught him how to read the Bible, and that's where he gets all of his info. And I'm not knocking your religion if that's a very important part of it, but all books need to be scrutinized to some extent. I know Garrett's probably going to hate me for that, but I do believe that. Carol agrees with Mike. It's like denying the moon landing, only far more hateful and destructive. Yeah, it is. But that moon landing thing can be turned into a lot of other stuff too. like how much money they wasted on your taxes when they did all that, and it didn't even happen anyway. I happen to know a very close personal family member that happens that would be related to my mother-in-law, who believes we didn't go to the moon. She still doesn't believe we went to the moon. And Carol says, real is real. Some people don't give up the majority status, so they are ready to believe anything that suggests minorities are the root of their problems. Absolutely. And we've been doing that for centuries. I mean, we didn't have to blame black Americans, slaves, or African Americans, that they were the problem 150 years ago, because we had them enslaved. So in the South, they weren't the problem. They were kept under control. And once they managed to get an inkling of freedom, and I won't say they got all their freedom, because Lord knows they didn't and still haven't, then they became a scapegoat. We could blame them now. It's always easier to blame a minority or a smaller religion within your. We lived in a town in Middle Tennessee before we moved here, and after we moved up here, there was a huge battle down there, and this was after 9/11. I'll admit, but that shouldn't have had anything to do with it. But they were trying to build a small mosque, Islamic mosque near Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I don't know for sure that it got built, but they fought that tooth and nail. It was on the national news. It was on, of course, local news a lot for a while. But it was a really big deal. And of course, it was at least partly because of 9/11, because once a Muslim, always a terrorist. So they thought. Yes, it is, Mike. And it's one of those reasons that normally I don't talk about it, but sometimes I just have to. And I'm not knocking anybody else's. Shoot. It's put that back up there. I was trying to think of something to say about that. It's almost impossible to talk about it without offending somebody, Mike. And it's hard to try to talk about it in a sense of trying to make it all encompassing and try to cover things that are alike rather than different, and without, again, insulting somebody or seeming to. There was a really interesting story on NPR. Oh, I'm not sure how long ago this has been, but it was on the afternoon show they do called All Things Considered. Pretty sure it was All Things Considered. Anyway, it was on National Public Radio, and it was a concerning a battle, if you will, of schools in Texas, at least in some small town where they had brought, or a county where this had been brought up in protest, and had been taken to court. And the whole issue was basically that someone had, I think it was a Jewish, well, actually it might have been a Hindu family. That's irrelevant, really. But it was a religion other than Christian, Protestant, whatever you want, whichever regard. And they were concerned. The heart of the problem was, every ball game they went to, they had to pray, and they had to take part in prayers and Christian prayers and Bible reading and that, whatever. And that wasn't their religion, but they were expected to respect it and obey, do what they said, and all that. And so the only answer ever seemed to come out of that was, well, we just got to stop it all. And the only reason they had to stop it all was because nobody was willing to give them a moment. And I was amazed when they went out and talked to the kids at that school, because they asked a whole bunch of students what they thought about the whole issue. And most of the students said, well, I think that's fine. If they want to give, other religions a chance to speak or say their prayers or do whatever. They said, just as long as the Christians get to say theirs at the end. So as long as we can make up for what everybody else has said and bless them and wish them a better life, then that's fine. Just don't let them be the only ones, or don't let them be the last ones. And that broke my heart at the time, because I thought, wow, you guys are young and you can't see the unfairness. I mean, I get it. Majority rules in this country, but why do you have to make that? Why do you have to condemn or persecute or cut out the Jewish part of your facility, or the Islamic part of your student body, or whatever, just because they're different? I don't know. I said it. Maybe somebody will tell me I shouldn't, but I did. Regarding Christianity, I sense that there are two destructive sides. One is the idea that Christians are somehow superior to others. The other idea is that all Christians are hypocritical jerks. Yeah, I think you're right. I would agree with that. Some of my best friends in the world lived in, well, that's another story. I won't tell that. I've been talking too much. You guys take the floor. Carol, Diana, Michael. I think we're probably the only ones left in here. I don't know. Where's my chat window? Oh, there it is. I completely lost you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we're it. I don't even see my wife in here. I'll try to get caught up here. They do, Carol. They absolutely do. I agree, Mike. And Diana. Burn library books. I never got that. It's a it's a book. It's meant to be learned. If you don't like it, put it back on the shelf and grab another one. Absolutely, Mike. I think that's one of the most disgraceful things as humans we ever do. Burn books because we don't agree with what they say. The Nazis did it. We condemn the hell out of them. But when we do it in this country, because, they're somehow books that we don't want our kids reading, or they don't, or, if it's Harry Potter books and they want them out of the schools because they don't want their kids to be taught witchcraft, real story, then we burn the books, and that's just disgusting. I wonder how many of the haters have actually sat down and had meaningful conversations with those I hate. I'd say very few, Diana. I'd say if you could add them all up and write them down or put them all down in a Excel spreadsheet, I'd bet it'd be very few. Garrett's back if anybody wants to know. What did you walk into? Well, you walked into we're assassinating the Christians. I'm kidding. Pretty sure they would find more ways in common than they ever thought. I think they would. Heartbreaking story I heard this week, or heard it over the weekend. I won't say who it is, but most of you guys would feel for this family. They had part of their family, extended family, like a niece, uncle, and his daughter, had lost a child a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago, and had been born with just an insurmountable amount of birth defects. In fact, the doctors told them they probably wouldn't make it before they were born. And they lived for a few months, and then they passed. Well, at some point after that, and it was devastating to them, of course, even though they kind of knew it was coming. But they decided to adopt, and now how they decided on who or where or how, but they ended up adopting an Indian boy, as in from Southern Asia, Indian boy, not Native American in this case. Wait a minute, I got to catch up with Garrett. He's in here all fired up now. He's relaxed. He's had a shower. Anyway, I don't know if he was a couple of years old when they got him. He wasn't a newborn, an infant. And they brought him in and named him. And he'd been living with them for a couple of years now. And they just all loved him to death. And this is an entire white family that I don't know how, considering what part of the United States they were from, I find it hard to believe they were very open about things like that, but they seem to be anyway, or at least their friends might not have been. And a friend of mine was looking forward to, he hadn't met him yet. He was looking forward to meeting him because in a way he would be a distant grandfather. That's how he looked at it anyway. And he was really looking forward to taking him fishing or riding horses or just, doing things that kids do. And last week, he just died. Now, I'm not sure how long he'd been sick. They found out he had some sort of a brain infection that he'd probably been carrying since birth. And there was really nothing nobody had done it. I mean, it was just either hereditary or it had something to do with where he was from, but he just died and they're all just devastated. And, I have to believe that their exposure to this for lack of a better way to put this, a dark-skinned Southern Asian child changed their opinions about a lot of things, I think. And that wasn't turn this into a sideshow. That was just to say that sometimes it takes that. I mean, people sat down with a child and then they realize that a lot of it's about how they're taught and raised. It has not always has to do with where they came from. Okay, Garrett, I got to try to catch back up. Let's see. Golly, wow, you guys have been busy. I got to back up here. I see some Burn the Library books. Never got that. Okay, I wonder how many of the haters. Garrett says, wow, what did I walk into? Dinah said, pretty sure they'd find out they have in common. Got that one. That's where my story came from. Carol says, Mike, I agree. I do think parents should be able to decide when their child is ready for a certain book, movie, etc., but why ban them? And I would agree with that. Good to see you're back there, big guy. At least Mike thinks it's good that you're here. And then Garrett says, okay, you guys aren't burning books. I thought what happened did everyone turn fascist. Well, you weren't in here, buddy. We talked about whatever we wanted to. And we decided we'd do something we all liked, and that's burn books. And he says, I'm backing out of this stream slowly, not till there's eye contact. That's where the eye contact came in with a hungry, aggressive bear. Come on back in. This bear don't burn books. Come on, Garrett. Come. If hopefully you didn't leave. Somehow that's how people learn, unfortunately. Yeah, that's true. Interracial adoption is a very tricky subject, trust me. Yeah, Carol, I didn't even think about that. So if I have offended or said something wrong, but please tell me. And no, I didn't mean to. These families lived in the West where you don't see a lot of that kind of stuff. But it was so amazing for me to hear just how thrilled they were about, meeting this child. He was supposed to be super smart, and they all fell deeply in love with this kid, this little boy. And the fact that he was gone was just devastating, all of them. And it was Mark's family, Mark's extended family. So you might as well know where it came from. Sooner or later I'll say it, so I might as well go ahead and do it. I'm not good at hiding that kind of stuff. But they, it wasn't his immediate family. It was way out there kind of relations, but it was still within they were coming out to visit, as Mark was looking forward to taking him horseback riding. Garrett's burning cookbooks. That's why poor Michelle has so much trouble. Garrett's burning all the cookbooks. Burning the cookbooks won't help, buddy. That won't stop her from cooking. That will just make her not be able to cook better. Didn't think you were that kind of guy, Garrett. Carol, that's just one of another many subjects that I think we could talk about with you that would be, I think, very educational and interesting and important. No pressure, though. I'm not offended you. That's true, right? And I wasn't even thinking about that part at the moment, Carol, but you're absolutely, that's another whole touchy subject. And what I think about Mike and Diana, even though I don't think you guys are of First People. I don't know if you are involved with Canada's First People. Am I saying that right? Please, again, I hope I'm not offending. But I've read there's so much stuff that Canada has tried to do to reconcile some of the wrong that was done by trying to convert all the First Nations children to be more white or more European than whatever they were, Ojibwa or was it Cree, the northern, whatever, the Blackfoot, whatever. And the United States still isn't dealing with that. And it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a shameful, terribly shameful moment in our lives, our history, that we don't talk about. And it's just like, here's a good one. The internment camps of World War II, where we locked up all the Japanese Americans. I mean, we can't fix that. We could at least apologize for it properly. Oh, I hear. We must have got him so startled he can't type. Diana says interracial adoption is not uncommon here. Canadians are more accepting than. Well, I think they may be. I mean, I'm not going to step into the middle of that. I think there's some very accepting Americans, but at the same time, per capita, you may very well be right. Again, sometimes I really do think Canadians they step back sometimes, I believe, and think about what they're going to do or say before it's too late. Very common in my town. It's a very diverse college town. It's definitely often we travel to the South with our kids, yes, and I apologize. Every time I think about that and stories we've talked about, it just makes me want to cry. I really wish I could apologize for all that. Not that it's my fault, but I feel bad. He's screwing up an upload onto YouTube. This is his fourth attempt watching streams and other things. Well, maybe if you're having too much trouble there, Garrett, maybe you need to just focus on that for a minute. We'll understand. We're not going to be here much longer because one of us is going to go watch the rodeo in a few minutes. I am going to start winding down. I really do not immediately, but slowly. I really appreciate you guys coming on, and I know there's not a bunch of us in here, but at least who's in here is not afraid to talk, and we can talk about subjects. And Oh no, Tim, you're worth 10 screw ups at least. Well, thank you. Thank you, Garrett. Just don't run out of those 10 too quickly, okay? I don't know if we think first, but we say something wrong or off, we're apologetic. Well, I get that. Well, maybe what I really meant was what I tried to say earlier, though, with Diana, that sometimes I think Canadians may not be as quick to fire off the handle, as fly off the handle as we are, or as so quick to start burning. Number 11, that's it. Okay, well, it's been nice knowing you, buddy. If I ever get to California, I might go by and throw eggs at your house or something. Oh, wait, I don't know where that's at. Never mind. Well, I'll find it. If I don't, I'll throw eggs at somebody else's house. You Californians are probably all alike anyway. Well, I fly off the handle too, Mike, but it's just about my stuff. It's not usually for racial reasons, I don't think. Politically, maybe, but yeah, sometimes I think Americans have just been under this, and I think this applies to so many things. I think we've been under so much pressure all of our life to succeed, 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 be better, create it first, engineer it first, build it first, exceed, succeed, move on. That it flows into so many parts of our lives, even if we don't realize it directly. So if you're from a society that's not like that, or a nation, or a group of people, I think you're way better off. Mike, I'll join you for that, buddy. I'll even supply at least half the toilet paper. We could go do that. That's a great idea. We wouldn't find him, and we wouldn't tell anybody. We need to probably not talk about it anymore, Mike, so nobody can rat us out. I love that idea, though. He does have a dog, so we'll have to be quiet, or we'll have the dog barking. I like that idea. I can see that, Mike. Even in my mind's eye. I mean, don't they live in a great big mansion out there, just like Beverly Hillbillies? I think that's what everybody lives in. Hey, Dean. Hey, oh, you didn't finally make it in. You didn't. You just made it in. That's quite all right. You've probably been at work. Not too worried about Garrett. I'm more worried about Michelle coming out and beating us. Well, you got a good point there, Mike. That might be true. If he's in your, maybe he heard that. We all need to work at both parts, informing others if they have unintentionally offended us, and being ready to apologize and make it better when we realize that we've offended someone. I need to write that down, Carol. I hope you don't mind me stealing that from you, but that's good. That's a really good way of saying that. I can't copy that, can I? It won't let me. I'll have to try to. I'll have to come back in here and read that later and write that down. Thank you. I hope you don't mind. I'll give you credit. That's well said, though. That is a very good place to start. And I don't mean that it's minor and not important. I think it's very important. And if we could start there, I think we can get along much further along, much quicker. Like when that one guy always talks about turkey legs, that makes my poor little vegetarian heart so sad. Oh, Carol, we're so sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I hope I'm laughing with you. Oh, hi, Dean. Oh, my goodness. I was thinking about that the other day. We were talking to somebody, and they were talking about meat dishes and turkey legs, and I don't know if it was like, big holiday dinners or what it was. And I kept thinking, I bet, so and so's in here, Carol's in here. They probably wouldn't appreciate that quite so much. Well, last I heard, Dean was thinking about taking up turkey farming, I believe. Wasn't that right, Dean? Weren't you thinking about starting a turkey ranch somewhere there in northern Florida? Carol, I know some places where if you walked in and said that, you'd be the one everybody'd be looking at funny. And I have to admit, I've worked with some vegetarians that really, really not enjoyed in that sense, really always made sure they took the opportunity to put down all us meat eaters as best they could and make us feel bad. So I must say, you're one of the nicer ones I've ever met. Yeah, it would be something like work. You're absolutely correct there. Funny thing about turkey farming, Dean, you got to have a place for them to get in out of the rain, which is probably bad in Florida because it rains a lot. But that domestic turkeys will drown themselves if they're out in the rain, hard rain. That they tend to gobble and look up. At least that's what I've always heard. Might not be true, but I've heard that. I really should research that. Dean, are you going on at 9:00 tonight? Well, Carol or Diana, I've always heard that they'll look up and then drown because they'll just inhale too much water. And now that I said it out loud on the internet, I'm thinking, is that really true? Maybe I should have researched it more. But I've heard that for years and years and years. I was a very annoying vegetarian back in the 90s. I have mellowed out a lot. I bet it in your younger days, Carol, that you were quite a formidable vegetarian. When did you become a vegetarian? Out of curiosity. We might have to discuss that, put that on the table. Vegetarians, are they really people too? Live at 9. Well, I said I wasn't going to be here. I might try to be here long enough to say hi. The rodeo will be started at 9. Ooh, in fact, it's going to be starting just in a few minutes. Or the pre-show. Not the pre-show, where they come in and sing the pledge and all that stuff. Not the pledge, but the flags and stuff. Oh, and Diana and Mike, this is Canada night at the rodeo. I don't know if you get the Cowboy Channel, but if you do, or RFD TV, turn it on, because at 9:00 they're going to be doing the Canadian national anthem, and there will be the Canadian national cowgirl, and she's going to be carrying the maple leaf in tonight. And wow, that explains a lot about Carrie. Yeah, it did, Garrett, but I was going to talk to you about that in private, not out here in public. March 1st, 19. Oh, you remember the actual day. I guess that makes sense. 1990. Well, you were a kid then. Depends on how they're cooked. If they've got lard in them, she probably wouldn't eat them. But that's a good thought. I agree, Mike. She ought to be able to eat. She ought to be able to eat donuts. And yes, Garrett, I'm still annoying, just not about vegetarianism. Well, we love you. Donuts are a food group. Boy, they are. I've been telling people that for years. Oh man, I'm sorry, Diana. I wish you did, just because tonight's Canada night. I mean, it's kind of like hockey night, which to me is kind of like every night's Canada night, but it doesn't get that enough credit. They did something the other night for Canada at the rodeo. I don't remember what it was. There's a lot of Canadian. There's quite a few Canadian cowboys this year. In fact, they're leading a couple groups. I know they're leading in the Saddle Broncs division, and maybe the Bareback Bears. They raised some really good bronc riders up there. Well, they are, Garrett, but you know what Mike and I say? Donuts may be evil, but they're necessary evil. Mike, I went out tonight and I told Brenda on the way home, I said, dang it, we should have stopped somewhere and got some donuts for the show tomorrow. And then she reminded me that tomorrow wasn't Saturday. So I still have one day to go get some. I mean, if I want to have them before the show Saturday morning. Well, I haven't gotten up early enough to go get them, so I might do that. All right, guys, I am going to start winding down. I appreciate everybody being here. I really do. Thank you very, very much. Even you, Garrett. And thanks for coming in. Thanks for your interaction. I really do appreciate that. I want to bring up topics like this, and I wish we could discuss them more. I wish, man, maybe in time we'll get a little larger forum. I don't know. Maybe we never will, but at least we can talk about it. My wife said something today to me about, she said, I guess you do. Oh, how'd she put that? I can't remember what we were doing. She said, well, you do like to talk. She said, I guess you miss it not talking to people. And I think she's right. I was surrounded by people and was always talking to customers and everything else. And now what I've got is you guys, which I actually have to admit, most of you are far more interesting than some of the people I worked with. So I appreciate it, and I do thank you. It's heartfelt. Talking about it is always good, Mike. If we could talk more and fight less, well, I think we'd be a lot better off, personally. All right. Good night, folks. I'm going to sign off here and watch some rodeo. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. I'll see some of you Saturday morning, I hope. And if you don't have one of these next week, I'm unsubbing. Oh, I'm going to try to, Garrett. At least right up till Christmas. How about that? But are you going to be there, Garrett? That's the thing. You just sort of came in at the end here and disrupted things and then just kind of popped in and out while you did other things. So I'm not sure what that threat means. Starbucks. No, I don't want to go to Starbucks. I like Starbucks as, I like their scones usually. And I like their, they have a lemon pound cake here that's just delicious. But it'd probably cost me more than 2-3 dozen donuts, and I'd just soon have donuts. I don't know if we have Pete's here. We might. We've got other coffee shops, but I'd go to Dunkin' Donuts and get coffee. I don't have to go get coffee though, Garrett. I'll make my own. Good night, everybody. Have a good rest of your night. Hope you have a good day tomorrow. If you got to go to work, be safe on the roads. And Mike and Diana, please don't freeze to death. Bye-bye. Love you guys.